Welcome to the new video of Neurophilos. Get ready to dive into a gripping tale that will leave you breathless, thinking, and inspired. Whether you're here for the mystery, the drama, or the unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. Let's begin. The exhaustion that sleep can't fix. Why are so many people tired all the time, even when they haven't done anything? Why do millions wake up feeling more exhausted than when they went to bed? Why does a quiet Sunday leave you drained? And why does a full night of sleep often feel like it barely helped at all? This kind of exhaustion doesn't make sense on the surface. We're taught that tiredness comes from effort, from working too hard, from doing too much. So when fatigue shows up without a clear cause, we assume something is wrong with us. We think we're lazy, undisciplined, burned out because we couldn't handle life properly. But this exhaustion isn't a personal failure, and it isn't physical. What's spreading across modern society is a quieter form of depletion, one that doesn't show up on blood tests and doesn't respond to caffeine, supplements, or even extended rest. It's the kind of tired that sits beneath the surface, lingering no matter how much you sleep. The kind that makes you feel heavy, foggy, and strangely worn down before the day even begins. This is not the result of physical overexertion. It's the consequence of a nervous system that never powers down. Most people today are not physically exhausted. They are neurologically depleted. Their bodies are stuck in a prolonged state of alert, constantly preparing for danger that never fully arrives. The stress response turns on, but it never turns off. In biological terms, stress is meant to be brief. A threat appears, the body reacts, the threat ends, the body releases, heart rate returns to normal, muscles relax, hormones settle, energy restores. That's how the system was designed to work. But modern stress doesn't follow that pattern. Instead of lions or predators, we face deadlines, financial pressure, tense conversations, endless notifications, and a constant stream of unsettling news. Each one triggers the same survival response in the body: elevated heart rate, tightened muscles, shallow breathing, a surge of cortisol. The body prepares to act, but there's no action. You don't run, you don't fight, you don't escape. You sit in meetings, you answer emails, you scroll through your phone. The threat never ends and the response never resolves. It's like being chased every day without ever being allowed to move. Over time, this creates a loop. The body stays in preparation mode, burning energy even while doing nothing. You may look calm on the outside, but internally, your system is bracing, always ready, always tense, always waiting for the next hit. That's why rest doesn't work the way it used to. Sleep can restore muscles, but it can't convince a nervous system that the danger is over. Lying still doesn't tell the body it's safe. And numbing the mind with screens may feel like rest, but it doesn't shut down the survival response running underneath. This challenges everything we've been told about fatigue. We're taught to treat exhaustion with more sleep, more downtime, more self-care. But for many people, those solutions fail, not because they're doing them wrong, but because they're addressing the wrong problem. You're not tired because you did too much. You're tired because your body believes the threat hasn't passed. And if the body thinks it's still in danger, it will not allow full relaxation, no matter how early you go to bed or how long you lie down. This isn't mindset, it's biology. The exhaustion you feel isn't a mystery, it's a system under constant pressure, never receiving the signal it needs to let go. And until that signal arrives, tiredness becomes the default state. The body that never gets closure. The human body was never designed to live in a permanent state of stress. Stress in its natural form is meant to be temporary. A threat appears. The body responds. The threat ends. The body releases. That sequence is not psychological. It's biological. When the nervous system detects danger, it launches a powerful survival response. Heart rate rises, muscles tighten, breathing becomes fast and shallow. Blood is redirected to the limbs. Hormones flood the bloodstream, sharpening focus and preparing the body to act. This response evolved for one purpose: movement. Our ancestors faced real physical threats. When danger appeared, they ran, fought, or escaped. And once the threat passed, their bodies completed the stress response. The excess energy discharged. The nervous system returned to baseline. Balance was restored. That final step is critical. Without completion, the stress response stays open. The body remains in a state of readiness, even when there's nothing left to run from. Modern stress breaks this system. Today, most threats are psychological, social, or symbolic. An email, a deadline, an unpaid bill, a tense conversation, a notification that arrives at the wrong moment. Each one activates the same survival machinery as physical danger, but there's no physical resolution. You can't run away from an inbox. You can't fight a calendar. You can't escape a thought. So the body prepares for action that never happens. The muscles stay tight. Cortisol stays elevated. The nervous system stays alert. And the energy that was meant to be spent remains trapped in the system. This is what researchers Emily and Amelia Nagoski call the incomplete stress response. The stress cycle begins, but it never finishes. And every unfinished cycle leaves behind residue. One unfinished cycle isn't a problem. 10 can be managed. Dozens every day for years is where the system starts to degrade. Each unresolved stress response adds another layer of tension, another notch of activation. Over time, the nervous system adapts to this state. It learns that stress doesn't end, so it stops trying to shut down. This is how chronic exhaustion forms. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. You start feeling tired even on calm days. You feel drained after doing nothing. Your thoughts become foggy. Small problems feel overwhelming. You're easily irritated or emotionally flat. Sleep no longer restores you. This isn't weakness, it's physiology. The body doesn't care whether a threat is real or minor. It doesn't measure danger logically. It responds to perception, and perception is shaped by repetition, an awkward message, a stressful thought, a piece of bad news. Each one triggers the same loop. And because the body never gets closure, the loop keeps running in the background, consuming energy even while you're resting. This is why so many people feel tired after doing nothing. Because the nothing they did wasn't the kind that completes the cycle. It was the kind that pauses movement while tension stays locked inside. Scrolling numbs awareness. Binge watching distracts the mind. Sitting still suppresses the body. But suppression is not release. Your nervous system is still scanning, still bracing, still holding. It hasn't been told that the threat is over, so it refuses to stand down. Over time, this becomes your baseline. The body forgets what true calm feels like. Being on edge starts to feel normal. Relaxation feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. And when symptoms appear, fatigue, irritability, anxiety, brain fog, most people blame themselves. They think they're unmotivated, broken, undisciplined. But the problem isn't the person, it's the unfinished process. Stress is not the enemy. The body is remarkably good at handling stress when it's allowed to complete. What breaks the system is stress without resolution, a cycle that begins again and again, without ever being allowed to end. Until that loop is closed, exhaustion isn't a sign that you need more rest. It's a sign that your body's still waiting for permission to let go. Why modern rest makes you more tired? At some point, rest was redefined. It stopped meaning recovery and started meaning inactivity. In today's world, rest usually looks like collapsing onto the couch, scrolling through a phone, watching a show, or zoning out after a long day. It feels like rest because movement stops, responsibility pauses. The body is still, but stillness is not the same as safety. On a neurological level, most modern rest never tells the nervous system that the threat has passed. It only suspends action while the stress response continues to run underneath. When you lie on the couch after a long day, your muscles may relax slightly, but your brain remains alert. The glowing screen keeps your nervous system engaged. The content you consume, news, social media, even entertainment, continues to trigger emotional and cognitive reactions. Plot tension, arguments, comparison, outrage, anticipation. None of it signals closure. Your body doesn't experience this as recovery. It experiences it as waiting. Add blue light into the mix, and the problem deepens. Screens suppress melatonin, disrupt circadian rhythms, and blur the boundary between day and night. The body receives mixed signals. Be alert and be still at the same time. That contradiction creates fatigue without restoration. This is why you can spend hours relaxing and still feel drained. Why you wake up after a quiet evening feeling no better than before. Your nervous system never received the message it needs most. You're safe now. Scrolling creates the same trap. It feels harmless. Just a few minutes to unwind. But the brain interprets it very differently. Social comparison, political outrage, tragic headlines, sudden dopamine spikes, unfinished narratives. Each one nudges the stress response back online. Even when nothing is overtly upsetting, the endless novelty keeps the nervous system in a low-grade state of vigilance. There is no resolution, no ending, just stimulation layered on top of fatigue. So when you finally stop, your body hasn't rested, it has endured. This leads to a confusing and painful experience. You did everything right. You rested, you took time off, you did nothing. Yet you feel just as exhausted, sometimes more. That's when guilt enters the picture. You start thinking something must be wrong with you. Other people relax and feel better. Why doesn't it work for you? Why does downtime leave you feeling empty, restless, or heavy? The answer is simple, but uncomfortable. What we call rest today is not designed to complete the stress cycle. It's designed to distract from it. Zoning out is passive, recovery is active. Completing the stress response requires a signal that the nervous system understands. And the nervous system doesn't speak language. It speaks sensation, movement, rhythm, and physiology. Sitting still without resolution tells the body to wait. Scrolling tells it to stay alert. Numbing tells it to suppress. None of these say, it's over. That's why traditional rest fails so many people. Not because rest is useless, but because we've replaced recovery with avoidance. We've confused escape with healing. And worse, modern culture reinforces this confusion. We're taught that rest should be effortless, that real recovery means doing nothing, but biologically, doing nothing while stressed keeps the system stuck. The body needs a transition, a clear shift from activation to safety. Without that shift, stillness becomes another form of tension. This is also why many people feel uncomfortable when they finally stop. Silence feels loud. Stillness feels restless. Calm feels unfamiliar. The nervous system, conditioned to constant stimulation, doesn't know how to settle on its own, so it reaches for the familiar. Another scroll, another episode, another distraction, and the cycle continues. The truth is, you're not failing at rest. Rest is failing you. Your body isn't broken, it's waiting for a signal it recognizes, waiting for completion, not numbing, waiting for the moment it can finally stand down. Until that happens, no amount of inactivity will feel restorative, because real rest doesn't come from stopping, it comes from finishing. How to complete the stress cycle. If exhaustion is the result of an incomplete stress response, the next question is clear. How do you fix it? How do you tell your nervous system that the danger has passed and it's safe to relax? The answer lies not in more sleep, meditation, or passive relaxation. It lies in action that communicates safety to your body. Biological signals, not intentions, are what resolve the stress cycle. The first and most direct method is physical movement. Your body evolved to prepare for action when threatened. Heart rate rises, muscles tense, adrenaline floods the system. In our ancestors, this led to running, fighting, or escaping. These actions completed the cycle and allowed the body to return to baseline. Today, we rarely act on our stress in a physical way. We sit at desks, scroll through phones, or answer emails. The stress builds unresolved, energy trapped in our muscles. Vigorous movement, running, dancing, jumping, boxing, lifting, releases this stored tension. It doesn't matter what form it takes, only that the body moves, the heart rate rises, and muscles release. A 20 to 60-minute session of sustained activity is often sufficient. The body interprets this as action completed. The threat has been met and the energy can dissipate. Next comes breathing techniques. Deep, intentional breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest and digestion. One particularly effective method is the physiological sigh. a deep inhalation followed by a second short sip of air, then a long, slow exhale. This pattern signals the brain that the danger is over, lowering cortisol and heart rate. Just a few cycles can provide a remarkable sense of calm, even if physical movement isn't possible at the moment. Social connection also plays a vital role, but not shallow conversations or casual check-ins. Your nervous system needs genuine, safe interaction. Laughter with a trusted friend, a hug lasting over 20 seconds, or eye contact with someone who truly listens all release oxytocin, the hormone that signals safety and connection. These moments tell your body, you are not alone. The threat is gone. Even brief but authentic connection can help close the stress loop. Creative expression is another biological tool. Activities that engage your body and mind, painting, journaling, gardening, cooking, building, provide a tangible outlet for unresolved energy. They shift the nervous system from survival to exploration, from tension to flow. The focus on making something with your hands or creating in the present moment communicates to the body that the crisis has ended. Crying in its raw and unfiltered form also resolves stress physiologically. Emotional tears carry stress hormones out of the body. This isn't metaphorical. The relief you feel after a genuine cry is a chemical reset. It is your body completing the stress response it could not release earlier. Finally, nature immersion provides a subtle but powerful signal. Spending at least 20 minutes in green spaces or near flowing water reduces amygdala activity, lowers cortisol, and restores baseline nervous system function. Importantly, presence is key. Staring at your phone while walking in a park doesn't count. Sensory engagement, feeling the wind, noticing sunlight, hearing water, tells the nervous system the environment is safe and life can continue without constant vigilance. The common thread in all these strategies is clear. Completion requires action, not avoidance. Your body does not process stress through thought alone. It needs signals it can interpret biologically. Muscle movement, breath, connection, sensory engagement, and emotional release. Without these signals, the stress cycle remains incomplete. Fatigue accumulates. Energy drains. The body stays in a low-grade state of alert, even during sleep or rest. But when you apply these strategies, the nervous system receives the message it's been waiting for. The danger has passed. You survived. You can relax. Completing the cycle isn't a one-time fix. It requires consistent practice and awareness. But once the pattern is understood and applied, it becomes a powerful tool. You can reclaim energy, restore focus, and experience a kind of rest that actually restores. The key takeaway: rest alone won't reset you. Completion will. And completion is something your body can feel, sense, and respond to directly. By learning these strategies, you stop surviving your stress and start metabolizing it, truly finishing what your nervous system began. The cultural trap of exhaustion. Even after understanding the biology of stress and how to complete the stress cycle, many people struggle to fully restore their energy. That's because the problem isn't just biological, it's also cultural and systemic. Modern society keeps our nervous systems on edge, often without us even realizing it. From the moment we wake up, we are immersed in a world designed to keep us busy, alert, and performing. Smartphones buzz with notifications. Emails, messages, and news headlines trigger micro-stress responses before breakfast. The commute, crowded streets, and fast-paced workplaces keep the body in subtle fight-or-flight mode, responding to every small perceived threat as if it were life-threatening. This constant low-grade stress is what researchers call chronic activation, a persistent alert state that never resolves. Cultural expectations exacerbate this problem. Productivity is glorified and rest is framed as laziness. Success is measured by output, availability, and endurance, not well-being. Social media intensifies the pressure, presenting curated lives that make us feel inadequate, behind, or unworthy if we pause to care for ourselves. Even wellness trends, meditation apps, mindfulness programs, and biohacking routines can become performance metrics rather than genuine relief, adding another layer of obligation. One particularly insidious form of this cultural pressure is what the Nagoski sisters call human giver syndrome. In this system, individuals are expected to give endlessly, their time, energy, emotions, and body, while asking for nothing in return. Needs, desires, and boundaries are suppressed. Self-care is often delayed or guilt-ridden. Over time, people internalize this expectation, believing that taking rest or prioritizing their own recovery is selfish or weak. The nervous system absorbs this cultural message as another threat, keeping the stress cycle incomplete. This cultural conditioning starts early. Children are rewarded for ignoring bodily signals, sitting still when restless, pushing through discomfort, suppressing emotions, and focusing solely on performance. As adults, these habits have become second nature. Saying no feels impossible. Pausing triggers guilt. Even leisure is often measured by productivity. Learn a skill, improve yourself, or monetize your downtime. Rest is conditional. Recovery becomes an earned reward rather than a natural necessity. The consequence is a feedback loop of exhaustion and self-blame. The more people push through chronic stress, the more depleted they feel. Yet instead of questioning the system, they question themselves. They blame laziness, discipline, or mindset for their fatigue. They buy supplements, read self-help books, and try new routines, searching for a fix that is impossible within a culture that punishes rest. Meanwhile, the nervous system remains trapped in survival mode, cycling through micro-stressors with no completion. Even when individuals learn the biological strategies to close the stress loop, movement, breath work, social connection, creative expression, or immersion in nature, they are fighting against a cultural current. Workplaces reward endurance, social media rewards constant attention, and relationships often expect self-sacrifice. Every day, the system applies pressure to reinitiate the stress cycle, undoing the progress made through individual practices. Recognizing this cultural trap is crucial. Exhaustion is not merely a personal failure or lack of discipline. It is the predictable result of living in an environment that systematically suppresses recovery. Awareness alone is not enough. You must actively defend your nervous system. This means setting boundaries, choosing rest intentionally, and resisting the expectation that productivity is the measure of your worth. It means prioritizing genuine recovery over performative downtime, even if it feels uncomfortable or countercultural. The good news is that culture can be resisted. Completing the stress cycle becomes sustainable when supported by intentional habits and systems that prioritize well-being. Over time, the nervous system relearns what safety feels like. Energy returns, focus sharpens, sleep restores, emotions become accessible again. The final lesson is clear. Biology tells the story, but culture writes the context. You can understand your body and master the stress cycle, but if you ignore the societal forces constantly pulling you back into tension, exhaustion will persist. True restoration comes from aligning biology with culture, learning to signal safety to your nervous system, and protecting your energy from systemic demands. Only then can you break free from chronic fatigue and reclaim a life that feels alive rather than merely survived.